Good morning, everyone. Nearly 1 in 5 adults who have been infected with COVID still have long COVID. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Those suffering report a wide range of symptoms, but one of the most common is loss of smell. Mandy Gaither has more on how experts say you can retrain your nose to regain smell. There we go.
If changes in your sense of smell went along with your COVID-19 infection, you're not alone.
Up to 90% of people had some loss of smell.
Most people get the sense back. A study published in August shows around 90% of people with mild COVID before the Omicron variant who lost taste or smell fully regained the senses within 2 years. Others still suffer. Health experts say the loss of smell isn't because of congestion, but rather a change inside you.
This virus actually affects the cells that are directly responsible for your sense of smell, way up near the base of your skull and the base of your brain. What happens is that not only do you lose your smell, at least initially, but 3 to 4 months later, when these cells are supposed to sort of redivide, you could lose your sense of smell again.
Health experts say you can retrain your nose to regain your sense of smell. And these 4 scents can help: rose, eucalyptus, clove, and lemon.
Use your nose to smell these scents over and over again. You can slowly potentially start to regain some of that smell over time.
A research article published earlier this year suggests essential oils with those scents may help a person recover the sense of smell by stopping inflammation and helping cells regenerate. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And researchers say other essential oils that are known to have anti-inflammatory effects may also help with smell recovery as well. A recent government report says prices for groceries jumped more than 13% in the past year. Meg Oliver went to the grocery store with Brian Vines from Consumer Reports to find some small ways for you to save big.
So what can we do to save money?
Wednesdays are the universal best time for grocery shopping. Between 8 and 10 a.m., stores are stocked for that Thursday to Sunday rush where supermarkets do 80% of their business.
So you need to plan a schedule.
Absolutely. And if you can, shop on the last 4 days of the month where you get the deepest discounts because stores are ready to turn over for the next month.
Fruits and vegetables are essential. How can we shop smarter for them?
Fruits and veg are at the peak of perfection right now, but frozen is always ready and they're just as nutritious, and you can stock up and save them. It beats the season and gives you savings all year long. Unit pricing can be your friend, especially for non-perishables like this water that you could buy a bottle for about $1.33 a quart, but these in bulk, 33 cents a quart.
And how do you cash in on special member deals?
Oh, this is where you're going to need your phone. There's so many stores that offer special member pricing if you join their savings club, and it translates into real value in the store and sometimes even at the pump.
And how about when it comes to protein?
Protein prices are skyrocketing, so fight the urge to run right to the meat aisle. Beans are a terrific high-protein option. Taco Tuesday doesn't always have to be ground beef. Get some quinoa, some beans, corn, mix it up.
Mix it up. And I'm assuming eggs would be a really good option.
Eggs are a perennial favorite. They're high in protein.
All right, let's not forget dessert. Come on, Brian.
Here it is. We have found my happy place.
Mine too.
Listen, reduce for quick sale. If your grocery store does not have one of these, find a different store.
How much can you save?
50% off
50%?
easily. Everything here is half off.
I have a family of 5. How much could I save with these tips?
My family of 2 has saved $340 so far this year just using the in-store savings app.
Wow. Just from the tips today, we saved more than 20 bucks.
All right.
Not bad. I'm Meg Oliver with Brian Vines in the Bronx, New York.
Just ahead, exploring new worlds under the sea. We'll show you next on Mid-Morning. Welcome back. Until recently, more human beings have flown to the moon than have dived to the deepest spot on Earth. Now, thanks to a singular feat of engineering, that's no longer true. It's called the limiting factor, and it looks like something out of a Pixar movie, but this sub is no cartoon. Earlier this summer, CBS correspondent Lee Cowan joined an expedition to the Mariana Trench in the Western Pacific to see a vehicle some are calling the space shuttle of the deep blue sea.
When you see our big blue marble from space, it's striking, really. We are so much more surf than turf. And yet even today, so many of our oceans remain largely a mystery. The stuff of tall tales of sea monsters and sunken treasure, and daring adventures to the bottom.
I'll never forget the Disney version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Are you kidding? That probably put the kernel of the idea of like saying, yeah, I want a submarine one day. Why not?
For most people, that childhood fantasy would be crushed by the weight of adulthood. But not for Texas adventurer and explorer Victor Vescovo. In 2016, he set about an around-the-world first to dive to the deepest parts of all 5 of our oceans.
How could this be that it's the year 2016 and we've never been to the bottom of 4 of our world's oceans?
Nobody.
No one.
Part of the problem is there simply wasn't a manned vehicle capable of multiple dives to depths that deep. Not even the U.S. military has one that robust. So Vescovo built his own, forged in fire. He called it the limiting factor.
Okay, yeah, it's hard, but I thought that would be an amazing technological challenge, integrated venture.
Anything deeper than 20,000 feet is known as the Hadal Zone, a reference to Hades, the Greek god of the underworld. It only makes up a tiny fraction of our oceans, about 2%. And that can make funding a trip to the bottom a pretty hard sell for the bottom line.
So when you go to the accountants and you say, I need all this money to get that extra 2%, they say, no, you don't.
Australian sub-pilot and engineer Tim McDonald had never heard of someone financing a submarine by themselves, but Vescovo, who had made a fortune in private equity, not only had the interest, but pockets deep enough for the deep.
Once you're comfortable, I think there's a strong urge to try and do something helpful for the rest of humanity, and just the area that I've chosen is ocean exploration.
He partnered with Triton Submarine, a small manufacturer in Vero Beach, Florida, who took on the challenge to make a sub that could dive to almost unlimited depths, over and over and over again, like a space shuttle to the bottom of the world. The first task was to design a hull that could withstand the weight of about 20 fully loaded 747s stacked on top of it. That's how much water weight would try to squeeze its occupants into oblivion. Only a perfect sphere would distribute the pressure equally. They built one out of titanium.
Gotta be fit to be a submariner.
Sometimes to go big means to go small.
Oh man, look at this.
The capsule is just big enough to fit a pilot and 1 passenger, and all the controls.
I feel like I'm sitting in like the first Apollo capsule.
You kind of are. The dive is scheduled for tomorrow.
Primary mission planner, New Zealander Rob McCallum, founder of IOS Expeditions, said no one had ever built a sub capable of more than 1 dive that deep.
Were there a lot of naysayers? Like, you're not going to be able to build this for more than 1 trip.
There would have been naysayers, but we purposefully kept the project confidential until we'd passed through sea trials.
Like deep-sea creatures themselves, the submersible had to work with the ocean's pressure, not fight it. Even though the titanium capsule is over 3 inches thick, its 2 hemispheres are almost fluid.
So they're not bolted together, they're not welded together. They're held together by a band, which allows the submersible to flex.
The same is true for the 3 viewports, which you might think would be the weakest points, but as Tim explains, they're designed to essentially get more waterproof the deeper you go.
So the windows, the viewports are just acrylic, so it's just plastic.
Seriously?
Very, very thick plastic. Yeah, and the fact that it's shaped in a cone so that as the pressure gets applied to the viewport, it actually seals more and more and more.
Think of it as a champagne cork in reverse.
CO2 scrubbers are going on.
The limiting factor is certified for depths more than 20% deeper than anything planet Earth has to offer, a margin of safety that Vescovo demanded.
Good to go.
And yet, until she was in the water, all bets were off.
When we first started testing the submersible, there were all sorts of little creaks, pings, pops, and of course any sound like that when you're in a submersible that you're testing as a test pilot, it can be concerning. But
To say the least.
Most of the places he's taken her down to, no human eyes had ever seen. His first stop was the deepest part of the Atlantic, the Puerto Rico Trench.
What was that moment like for you?
It was just wonderful to be in one of the most remote places on the planet with a vehicle of my own construction and literally having a stick in my hand, being able to go wherever I wanted on the bottom of the ocean. Like a kid, I felt like I was 10 years old. It was great.
In the months afterward, the limiting factor did indeed reach the bottom of all 5 oceans, including several trips to the deepest of all, Challenger Deep, an abyss deeper than Mount Everest is tall.
Is this the time I tell you I've been a lifelong claustrophobic?
On this particular mission, in March of 2021, it was Rob and Tim's turn at the controls. And while they knew they weren't going to be the first to go that deep, well, they found a way to make history anyway.
And you hold the record for what?
For the deepest beer in history.
Turns out that depth-defying titanium sphere, down in the frigid waters of the deepest place on Earth, makes for a pretty good beer cooler, too.
The hard-earned thirst deserves the best cold beer. Served best at the bottom of the ocean.
It was a toast to ingenuity, to friendship, and to Victor Vescovo's childhood dream. A real-life Captain Nemo who built a machine that is the stuff of fantasy.
All right, coming up, quite a few new looks for Barbie and her friends. That story when Mid-Morning returns. All right, we're back, everyone. Toy maker Mattel is taking another step to diversify its dolls, offering Barbie and Ken with a variety of skin tones, body types, and disabilities. As Ian Lee reports, the move is helping kids see themselves in a new light.
I hope you've had a lovely day.
Until recently, 17-year-old James Stewart hid from the world.
I mean, I used to wear jumpers down there, hoods up. I loved COVID with the face mask because I wouldn't show my face.
James has vitiligo, a condition that affects the pigment in his skin. He grew up with it, making him the target of bullies.
I felt quite left out because my hair was turning grey and my skin was changing colour, so I couldn't be like every other kid.
But his shame turned to fame when toy maker Mattel rolled out their new Ken doll with vitiligo.
You can't be alone with this doll. I think it's brilliant.
So you feel seen now?
I think the whole community feels seen now.
Mattel's fashionista line is Barbie's most diverse and inclusive yet, with more than 175 looks, including dolls in wheelchairs and with prosthetic limbs.
Do we like the new Barbie?
The new Barbies gave 6-year-old Eliza her debut on British TV. She has severe hearing loss and wears pink hearing aids, just like her Barbie.
It gives hope to families like ourselves that our children are going to be included into the world.
While keeping the bullies away. If you had this doll when you were 11, how do you think that would change your life?
I think it would have made me feel on top of the world, really, especially my confidence and my happiness.
Little dolls that are different, making a big difference in these kids' lives. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
And Mattel consulted with experts to accurately portray the hearing aids in kids like Eliza. All right, making the cut, a conversation with the director of The Woman King. Mid-Morning comes right back. Well, a behind-the-scenes look at the new historical epic, The Woman King. The action film starring Viola Davis topped the box office earlier this month, becoming just the second film directed by a Black woman ever to open at #1. Anthony Mason met with that director at a workspace and in her Los Angeles office, where she sat in on an edit session just weeks before the release. Take a look.
Naniska, The Woman King.
After shooting her epic action film, The Woman King, over 63 days in South Africa, director Gina Prince Bythewood was back in L.A. in late August, screening footage with editor Terry Shropshire.
Why don't I show you what we have?
Putting together the director's extended cut.
So this is how the dance starts.
I think a lot of people would be surprised that here we are, 2.5 weeks from the premiere, and you're still working on this?
I'm still working. Everyone keeps looking at each other like, how's this happening?
A storyboard in the edit room lays out every scene in the film.
When you look at this, it doesn't seem like a huge thing. Yeah. And so that's really helpful in the early stages when you're kind of
overwhelmed.
Yes, overwhelmed is a good word.
The films consumed a year and a half of her life. Based on true events, The Woman King is the story of the Agoji, an all-female unit of warriors who protected the kingdom of Dahomey.
I think so many of us have an image of what Africa was like in the 1800s, and it wasn't this. This was the only kingdom in Africa where women had a voice in the government.
It's only the 6th film for the 53-year-old director.
It seems to me you've chosen the films that you've made very carefully. Mm-hmm. Why'd you pick this one?
As soon as I read maybe 5 pages, it was a guttural connection. I had never heard about these women before. Mm-hmm. And I think about what I needed as a young black girl growing up, as a young girl growing up.
Growing up in California, Prince Bythewood was a basketball star in high school, a track star in college, and an avid reader.
You said once, I think, that the reason you liked stories was you could control the ending?
Yeah, there was just growing up, I needed something to take my mind off of negative things in my life, and that's why I love books so much, to disappear into that.
Prince Bythewood was adopted and raised in a predominantly white neighborhood. She struggled with self-esteem and racism in school. I was always reminded, she said, of my otherness.
And then when I started writing it, it really was, wow, I can write a happy ending, and there's a great power in that.
She was accepted at UCLA, but not into the program she dreamed about.
Initially, you were rejected from the film school.
Every time I hear that, it's like...
What, do you relive the pain, or what?
It literally, there's like 3 horrible moments in my life, and getting that rejection letter was one of them. It was devastating.
Felt like your life ended.
It's like, what am I supposed to do now?
She made an impassioned appeal to the head of the school, and they reversed their decision.
And that changed my life.
On graduating in 1991, she landed a writing job on the TV series A Different World, where she met her husband, Reggie Rock Bythewood, but later quit TV to write her first screenplay.
You spent a year and a half? On Love and Basketball.
Yes.
And nobody wanted it.
It was crickets.
I'll play you.
Rejected by every studio.
1 game, 1-on-1.
For what?
Your heart.
Until Sundance stepped in. In 2000, her directorial debut, Love and Basketball, was finally released. A romantic comedy she'd envisioned as a black When Harry Met Sally.
Double or nothing.
How does it feel all these years later, with that movie now viewed by many as a classic?
It never gets old when somebody comes up and says that they love that film.
See right there, Lily? That's the queen.
She'd follow it with The Secret Life of Bees.
My job is stressful enough. I don't need this in my personal life.
Beyond the Lights. And The Old Guard, the first comic-based blockbuster to be directed by a black woman.
How would you describe yourself as a director?
Wow.
Bernie Mac called you the Quiet Storm.
That was cool. Actually, someone used an example on this film. They said it's like a duck, where on the surface I'm this, but underneath the water they know, like, feet are doing that.
You have the ability to actually change the way people see.
Yeah. My body of work, 100%, is about changing the narrative of black women.
We are Dahomey!
In The Woman King, General Naniska, played by Viola Davis, is a machete-wielding badass.
This is the actual prop from the film?
This is it. This is Naniska's second machete.
She keeps it in her office.
If you're going to have a souvenir, this is the one to have?
That was the first thing I asked for.
The fight scenes are very elaborately choreographed. How hard is that to do?
You want it to be choreographed so no one gets hurt, but you want them to also have the freedom to improvise a little bit. You want to be able to be there and capture those magical moments.
The cast trained on weights, weapons, and in the martial arts.
This narrative that people still have that women are not warriors, that are not fighters, that are not strong. If they were on this set, it would blow their minds how tough these women were.
The director herself trained with them.
One last thought. How has being an athlete affected your attitude towards all this, do you think?
That athlete mentality is the way I direct. Directing takes incredible stamina, which is what you learn as an athlete. It takes incredible fight, incredible belief in yourself. Yeah, being an athlete has been everything.
Anthony Mason, CBS News.
We'll be right back to wrap things up. All right, be sure you stay connected with us. We love to hear from you. We'll see you back here tomorrow.